Hello everybody, my name is Emma and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my June TBR. So for the month of June there are two major readathons that I've been looking forward to since they were announced, and I'm so excited for them to happen. And that's going to make up the majority of my TBR. Actually no, that's going to make up the entirety of my TBR because it's like 8 books and I haven't read 8 books in a month in a long time, so we're being ambitious here. Since there are 2 readathons and between the 2 readathons there are like 12 prompts for me, I've decided to combine the 2 and read all these books for the readathon. Each time I mention a book that I'm reading for both readathons, I will tell you which readathon prompt they fit with. So the 2 readathons that are going on during this month are the Olympic Games that are hosted by Ishi, and I will post her announcement video below, as well as the Make Your Mythtaker readathon hosted by Ashley, which I'll also put down below. I'm so excited for both of these. They both sound so much fun. The Olympic Games readathon is a Percy Jackson themed readathon, which I'm very excited about because I love Percy Jackson. And in that case, what's happening is you take a quiz, which is very similar, if not the same, as the official, like, Rick Riordan, Percy Jackson, Who is Your Godly Parent quiz. But like the title suggests, it is a quiz that will tell you which of the Olympian gods and other gods would be most likely to be your godly parent if you were part of the Percy Jackson world. I took the quiz and I'm very excited to say that I got Hades as my godly parent, and I'm so excited. I love Hades. I love everything to do with like Hades' mythology and his story. Hades' cabin is cabin 13, so that is the cabin I'll be representing for the challenge, and I'm very excited. There are 4 main prompts for Hades, as well as a crossover prompt. There's also a prompt for you to choose a prompt from a different god, one that's related to the one that you are a part of. So for Hades, that one is Hermes, because he's the only other Olympian god who has access to the underworld. So 4 prompts for Hades, 1 for Hermes, and then there are 2 like advanced challenges that are for Hades. The first 2, or there are more than 2 overall, but there are 2 for Hades. Those are sword fighting and monster fighting. And then there's the group books. So for me that makes up 8 books, and I'm excited to share them with you. So the first prompt for Hades is the Ghost King. So it is to read a book featuring the undead. For this I had some trouble, so I took to Twitter to try and find a recommendation because I was having issues coming up with one on my own, and I got a ton of recommendations. But the one that I chose to go with is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. This will be my first Renee Ahdieh book. I never read the Shatter Me series that she does. I never read that series, so this will be my first dive into her writing, and I'm very excited because I've heard nothing but good things about it. The Beautiful is a vampire book, which I'm very excited about because I love me some vampires, but vampires are part of the undead, so they count for this challenge. This book takes place in 1872 in New Orleans, which is amazing as well, so it's like a historical fiction paranormal story, and I'm so excited. I've heard amazing things about this. When it came out, it was like said to be the book that's going to bring vampires back, and I am all for it, so I'm excited to read this. The other readathon that I'm going to be taking part in is the Make Your Mythtaker readathon hosted by Ashley and the Mythtake book club. For this readathon there are like 4 different streams you could go down. The one that I chose to follow is the Royal Court, and I'm going to be trying to become a monarch because, you know, queens are fun. The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh also counts for the prompt for the monarch stream in Make Your Mythtaker, which is to read a book featuring a royal color, so red, purple, or gold, I think. This one has red on the cover, so I'm going to be reading this for that prompt. The next prompt for the Olympic Games and Hades is to reread a favorite book, bring a book back from the dead. So for that I chose to continue on in my Percy Jackson reread that I started over the last summer, and I'll be reading Percy Jackson and the Sea of Monsters. I love Percy Jackson so much. This is a Percy Jackson readathon, so I knew I had to pick a Percy Jackson book for at least one of the challenges, so this one worked out very well. This is one of the shortest ones in the series, but is one of the best ones, and I'm very excited to continue with it. This book also counts for the prompt to again reread a favorite book for the Make Your Mythtaker challenge. Next up for the Olympic Games, The Underworld is a Dark and Dreary Place. Read a book with a dark cover. For this, I've decided to read Furyborn by Claire Legrand. This one I don't know a huge amount about, but I know that it's like, it's dual perspectives. It goes between two different times. The first point of view is from readathons, who is a queen in this world, like a prophesized queen. And then the other point of view is taking place 1,000 years later with Eliana Farrakora, a bounty hunter for the Undying Empire. It basically has these two characters intertwined over generations and tells like a dual story, which is really cool. I thought the concept for this was really interesting when it first came out a couple years ago. Furyborn also counts for the prompt to read a book featuring a queen main character for the Monarch stream of Make Your Mythtaker. Next up for Hades in the Olympic Games, it says death comes randomly and without warning. Choose a book from your TBR at random. For this, I decided to, like it says, choose a random book. And for that, I actually chose a thriller because I've been wanting to read thrillers a lot lately. So for this, I've decided to read A Conspiracy of Bones by Kathy Reichs. This is the newest Temperance Brennan novel. I think it's like the 18th or something like that. I don't even know. But I love these books. I read them crazily out of order, but I've read them for the last few years. I pre-ordered this when I heard it was coming out, and I'm very excited to dive back into this world. I love the scientific aspect of it. I love the fact that Kathy Reichs actually is a forensic anthropologist, so she understands the science, and the science is made to be very clear in this, as well as I love the romance. I think it's going to be a really good book to read. Next up is my crossover prompt. So it says, Hermes is the only Olympian free to visit the underworld. Complete a prompt that honors Hermes. For this, I decided to choose the prompt Catechus. I don't know how to say it properly. Read a book with a snake on the cover. So for this, I've decided to read Serpent and Dove by Shelby Maheran. This book is very controversial. It's gotten like very polarizing reviews, but from what I've seen of it, it looks like something that I'd really enjoy. It's got witches and a witch hunter that are like forced to get married, but they obviously, like, the witch hunter doesn't realize that the woman is a witch. What are the characters' names? Louise and Reed. So I don't know, I've heard from people who have very similar tastes as my own that have really enjoyed this book, so from that point of view, I'm excited to give it a go, and it's one that's been on my TBR for a long time, so I'm definitely looking forward to reading this. So next up are for my Olympic Games readathon. The next two challenges are the advanced challenges for Hades, the first of which is Sword and Shield. And for this, the prompt is to read a book featuring a character that you would not get along with. So for this, I've decided to choose a sequel because I read the first book and I do not think we would get along as well at all between me and this character, and that is Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer. I read Renegades last month and I absolutely adored it. It was so good. I can't wait to dive into the sequel, and the character I wouldn't get along with this is actually Aiden. I do not think Aiden and I would get along at all. I think he's very annoying in my perspective, in my opinion, and I think he would just drive me crazy. So I'm excited to get into the sequel to this. The Renegade series tells the story of Nova and Adrian. Nova is a part of the Anarchists, which is a group of prodigies, people with magical powers, like superpowers. They're kind of like painted as the villains, and then Adrian is the son of the two leaders of the Renegades, which are a group of prodigies that act as superheroes and end up taking over this city's government and policing basically everything. They're in total control. He is the son of the two leads, Dread Nation and Captain Chromium, which I find hilarious. But anyway, the two of these characters are polar opposites, and they get locked into this very interesting dynamic. I won't say too much because I don't want to spoil the book, but it's a really interesting take on superheroes, and I think anybody who's interested in that even slightly would really enjoy it. The next of the advanced challenges that is part of Hades is monster fighting, and the prompt for that is to read a book featuring magical creatures. For this, I'm very excited. I'm finally going to be diving into House of Earth and Blood, Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. I've had this book for a while. I've had it basically since it came out, and this is the longest I've taken to read a Sarah J. Maas book after it's been released. It's the first book in a new adult series. by Sarah J Maas that features shapeshifters, angels, demons, all kinds of different magical creatures. And it follows, what's her last name? Bryce Quinlan, whose friends are mysteriously murdered, and she ends up having to team up with Hunt, who is a fallen angel who has also been tasked with discovering her friend's killer. Again, they're polar opposites and they have to get along and in order to solve the mystery. I love that there's like a mystery aspect to it because I love mysteries just in general. I love Sarah J Maas's writing and I absolutely can't wait to get into this. I love her romances, I love her characters, and I'm very excited to be reading this finally. And lastly, the last book I'm going to be reading during the month of June is the group book for the Olympic Games, which is Lovely War by Julie Berry. Again, I've had this book on my TBR for a long time. I got it under the recommendation of Heather over at Aphrodite Reads, and I'm very excited to read this. This is a historical fiction taking place during just after World War II, I believe, but this is the story of two kind of star-crossed lovers that end up falling in love during the war, and it's actually told from the point of view of Aphrodite as she's explaining to the rest of the gods why she let these two humans fall in love despite it never being able to work out and despite the circumstances. I'm so excited to read this. This is such an interesting take on a historical fiction. I think blending the idea of the gods in modern day and a historical fiction set in World War II along with the romance is such an interesting point of view. I'm very excited to get into this. It reminds me a lot of the book 15 Dogs by Andre Alexis, which is a Canadian novel, a modern Canadian novel that tells the point of view of, or tells the story of these 15 dogs that were in a kennel overnight in the city of Toronto and are given sentience by the gods Apollo and Hermes as they are just sitting in a bar and contemplating what whether or not other animals would be, if they had human consciousness, would be able to truly find happiness. Again, it's a kind of like a philosophical topic told from the point of view of the gods who are interfering in the lives of humans. So I think it's really interesting. I really enjoyed 15 Dogs, so I'm really looking forward to reading this. This book I'm also using for the last prompt of my Make Your Mythtaker challenge, which is to read the highest rated book on your TBR. This one is like, I think over 4.5 rating on Goodreads, and it's one of the most highest rated books that I've picked up in a long time, so I'm very much looking forward to reading this. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you've read any of the books on my TBR, or if you're participating in any of the readathons that I'm participating in June, please let me know down below. I will leave all the links to the announcement videos and the channels that are running these readathons down in the description as well, along with my plan with me for June if you want to see my bullet journal spreads, which is what I've been reading from this entire time. Again, let me know in the comments if you've read any of the books on this list. I'd love to hear your opinion or what you're planning on reading for these readathons. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because it really does support my channel, and if you're new here, please subscribe. I put out new videos, bookish and journaling related, every week, and I hope you guys have a lovely day. Bye-bye.